A program to match curriculum to jobs here in the state with a cool university, of course. Roger Williams has, been a successful institution for quite some time, but they continue to grow both in their, educational excellence and in their community efforts. And they were introduced recently as part of a program to match job creation and curriculum. The governor introduced that, and we're going to meet the good president of Roger Williams University, Dr. Donald Farish, coming up here momentarily, so stay tuned for that. How are you? Nice to have you into my State of Mind for this Wednesday evening. I guess we've got weather to deal with now and maybe some big weather coming. Make sure you stay tuned to Eyewitness News on both Fox and PRI to make sure you're up to date as to whether we're going to get whacked at the end of this weekend or have the storm miss. It's a Hurricane 1 right now. All right, that's Tony's job. Let me go over to the rundown and do my job. All right, Russian air power. What happened today? Here's the headline. All of a sudden, we find out that 48 hours after Putin and the president have a meeting at the UN, all hell's breaking loose, it seems. Yeah, so we've got, all right, if I can follow this, we've got Russia bombing the city of Homs, which is Homs in Syria. Russia says, yep, it's launching its own ISIS attack strategy here and that the American air power ought to steer clear and stand down. Huh? Then the U.S. says, no, they're not hitting ISIS targets, they're hitting the actual anti-Assad regime military targets, because Assad, of course, is under attack from his own people in a civil war. But they're not ISIS types. Then the Secretary of State, John Kerry, says, well, we welcome this. Then the Secretary of Defense says the Russian military is unprofessional. If you can make hide nor hair of this very volatile situation, let me know on my State of Mind or on the radio, noon to 3 on WPRO, because most folks who were calling the program this afternoon had no idea what was going on either. Stay tuned. So locally here, John Brien reappears. He's a state representative, former in Woonsocket, who lost his position. Here's the headline that talks about his story today in the Providence Journal. He lost his election in 2012, mostly because of the attacks he suffered due to his being a co-author or sponsor, I should probably say, of the legislation that created the $125 million loan guarantee for the ill-fated 38 Studios project with Kurt Schilling. Now, John says twice he was involved in the $50 million effort and was surprised when he was asked to sign on to it again, only to have an addendum added for another $75 million. He says he had no idea what was going on the Buddy Cianci program yesterday.
I had a bill that I've been working on for about 3 years. It was good economic development legislation, proven model in other states. I was approached by the chairman and said, hey, you know that bill that's gone nowhere over the last few years? We decided it's a really good idea and we're going to pass it. It seemed like we were really doing good economic development work. The problem was that the leaders of the chamber, that being Speaker Fox, Chairman Constantino, they knew the deal, and they knew that this was already a done deal, and they were having us vote on something that
Armando said she was.
So anyway, the rest of that story will be told here on the Friday night version of Dan York's State of Mind, or edition, I guess I would say. 2 nights from now, John Brien will help to tell his story and flesh that whole thing out. By the way, how about this headline when it comes to 38 Studios? This is another beauty. The analysts who were hired to review the 38 Studio plan told the EDC that they wouldn't make the loan deal. See, I guess they told executives. The executives who didn't tell the board who approved it are also being sued, if you can follow this civil litigation. And in the meantime, regarding the civil litigation, our top law enforcement officer continues to remain obstinate over the idea that he should recuse himself. He is a former state representative, was in leadership, left leadership just prior to the 38 Studios loan guarantee vote. Okay? He voted yes. And that very thing, regardless if he was in cahoots on the possible corruption or awful politics of this, should be enough for any fair-minded, clear-thinking, honest, anti-corruption law enforcement official to say, I need to recuse myself of any kind of jurisdiction over investigation or prosecution. But he never gets that. And in fact, he was totally nonplussed, it seems, about the evidence that's come through on the civil case.
There is an ongoing criminal investigation. It has been, continues to be active. We are looking at what was released recently by order of Judge Silverstein, in order of, by the way, which I supported the release of those documents. We will compare them to what we have, but at this point in time, I will say, I don't think there was any great surprise in what was released to us.
That is embarrassing. The Attorney General should not be forecasting that which is not yet completely broken down by the state police investigation is hardly non-eventful. He is, I'm sorry, part of the political establishment. He is one of those guys that looks like a political hack when he doesn't understand that he should be recusing himself. And although I've been pounding away at Peter Kilmartin over this for quite some time, it seems like the power structure in the Democratic Party and his deaf ears are tuned out to the idea that most people get, which is that it should be a no-brainer for him to recuse. That commentary only buoys the opinion. In Providence, the council is beginning to wake up over Mayor Alorz's foolhardy attempt to force platoon changes for the fire department without having the money or the deal to pay for it. The headline, the Providence Journal, and actually WPR.com, and Dan McGowan right here. This is Danny's story. 9 months in, Mayor Lorza faces backlash from the city council. Yeah, because they have finally figured out that, oops, there it is. If they lose the arbitration, this could be a 5, 10, 15, 20 or more $1 million hit that the city doesn't have. I talked with Joanne Ryan, a city councilor in Providence, about that last week. I'm very worried that this mayor, not doing his homework and taking some bad advice, is going to run the taxpayers into a really big bad bill.
The city council as a whole is keeping our eye on the situation. We're watching it very closely. Obviously, as you just pointed out, it could be a big number. It's not constructive of me. There's an ongoing litigation, so it would not be constructive of me to comment. However, we are watching. The mayor does.
The mayor says something stupid about it just about every week.
We're watching it closely. Our job is to monitor the budget.
Yeah, well, good. Monitor the budget and also forecast financial disaster. Somebody's got to tell this mayor he's headed into a territory he knows not what he does. It could cost him his political career and the city its financial status. Bankruptcy would be next. And finally, this is disturbing. I mean, the whole story is just awful. New York Times headline, this woman in Georgia is executed. There's actually two stories, one in Oklahoma and one in Georgia, where both defendants were not directly involved in the hit on those that they knew and had killed. It's an awful, awful case.
Supporters of Kelly Gissendaner prayed outside of a Georgia prison hoping to save her life. Her daughter Kayla was among them. Kayla says her mother had changed in the years since 1997 when Kelly Gissendaner convinced her lover to kill her husband, Douglas. More than 90,000 people signed a petition asking Georgia's governor to stop the execution. And Gissendaner's lawyers filed several motions in court on Tuesday, trying to stop or at least postpone it. But the U.S. Supreme Court denied multiple requests for a stay of execution. And at 12:21 a.m. Wednesday morning, 47-year-old Kelly Gissendaner was put to death by a lethal injection.
Even the Pope couldn't move that particular case. Tragic on all levels. Your state of mind is important to us. 228-1886 is the phone number. Leave a voicemail, email us, tweet, Facebook post. You know how it goes. A quick one here. Robert simply says there's one word missing in Rhode Island politics: accountability. From the Attorney General to a lot of different places. Robert, enough said. Roger Williams, president, on a new program. Sounds cool. Stay with us. All right, let's be bullish on something. Let's talk about something positive, moving the state forward. Here's a headline that talked about a program. The governor actually went on down to Roger Williams recently and talked about this job preparation thing happening at Roger Williams. And it seems to me it's a match of curriculum and the need for jobs in the current climate. And no better than going to the top. The president of Roger Williams University, Dr. Donald Farish, is here. Mr. President, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
So what do you think about 38 Studios? I'm kidding. It's like, oh, geez. Do you have an overall view about the current climate? You're here 5 years now in the state. The current climate and the difficulty that we have getting out of our own way right now. Do you have a thought on that without specificity?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that I've always felt that the pieces are all here. It's just a question of connecting them and getting good leadership. And I'm optimistic with our governor and our mayor that we're in a position to do some things that are pretty interesting.
Which mayor?
In this case, the mayor of Providence.
Okay. I will tell you, I have an open mind when it comes to some of the governor's initiatives. I'm very worried about the city of Providence and its financial well-being. Collective bargaining issues aside, I don't know what the economic thing is for the city of Providence. Do you have an engagement in the city when it comes to this whole new program that you guys are doing?
We do.
Okay.
We've started years ago, originally 1956, we began in the city of Providence, and only in '69 did we move to Bristol.
Not everybody knows or remembers that.
Yeah, I think that's right. But we've always had a presence in Providence. We're just expanding that presence because we realize that a lot of what we need to do is delivering education to where the people are rather than expecting them to come to where we are.
All right, so why don't you lay out what this program is all about, this curriculum and jobs thing, and how it all works together?
Well, there's two pieces. So one piece deals with the traditional age students in Bristol, and I'll leave that alone for a moment because I think what you're asking is, well, what about the adult population that we're dealing with right now in Providence? And the idea there is, rather than saying, here are the education programs that we offer, fit yourself into one of them and go forward and do great things, we're asking the question, what is it you need, and what is it that businesses need, and what is it the economy needs to be able to move people forward? So this is the famous skills gap issue, and we want to close that skills gap. We want to take people who have lost their jobs or who are underemployed in their current situation, give them more skills, and let them move into the new economy.
How do you attack that?
By, first of all, identifying what the needs are. So in some cases, we're working directly with companies, such as CVS, to upgrade the skill set of a whole level of their current employees. In other cases, we're doing work that engages people where they are. For example, we are working right now with a group of single mothers who are on welfare to get them off welfare by educating them to be the front office people in law firms.
And, and so you find them through, obviously, the welfare programs and the like.
Sure.
I didn't make that identification, but are they earning credits? Are they working toward a degree? Is it offline that way, or how does that work?
It's all those things, Dan. It's in some cases they're working toward a degree. In other cases they're getting a certificate. Some cases they're not even getting college credit, but they're getting skills training that helps them move forward in their jobs. It's not a case, again, of being saying, here are the particular sets of offerings we have and you all must fit into one of them. We're saying, well, what is it you need? And are we in a position to provide it? And you, in this case, could be a business. It could be a whole sector of the economy. It could be a group of people that are saying, this is what we need.
It seems to me that collegiate university institutions are approaching, and the technical institutions specifically, are doing things a little bit differently. They're looking at the market sectors and the actual realities out there and starting to tailor curriculum to the need, rather than just teaching stuff and hoping it flies in the working world. Do I have it right?
You do, but I want to augment that just a little bit,
Okay.
because with our traditional age students, they're still getting the elements of a liberal arts education, all of that mind expanding, learning more about yourself and the world that you live in, that has always been part of that curriculum. But we recognize now that that's no longer sufficient. In the current environment, employers are looking for people with experience, and students almost by definition don't have experience, and so there's this not a very good fit. And so we're looking at it from the standpoint of what society needs and asking, are we preparing our students for the world they're going to go into? And if we're not, then what is it we can do to get them more ready? And we've decided that the principal answer to that question is all of our traditional age students need to have experience working on an actual project with other students, supervised by a faculty member, engaging with some entity in the broader community where they have clients, where they are meeting deadlines, where they're working with each other, where they're developing collaboration skills, and they're meeting opportunities to present this material both orally and in writing, and getting experience in the very field that they have been studying, so they're not arriving as naives.
More developed than the average internship thing.
Very much so, yes. I mean, internships are fine, but sometimes they turn on to go fetch the coffee. And so this is a case where the university is overseeing the actual work rather than turning it over to a business student.
You know, it really is an interesting concept. I have a junior in college, right, that I'm paying for, and so one of the challenges that we brought to my daughter was to do something that would make her happy and that would reward her, but that would be practical and actually pay the bills for the exorbitant tuition that everybody is paying across the board in America, no matter what the institution.
Right.
In other words, Mom said, you better be able to get a job with that degree.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of pressure on kids right now and institutions to make that happen, yes?
It is true, but I think it's also the case that it can't just be about a job, because there are people that have jobs that are not happy. I mean, we want people to be happy with their life, and as well as having a great job. So part of this is finding a way of having people discover what they really like to do and then preparing them to do that. Of course, it has to fit into the broader society, because if you're educating yourself to do something that nobody wants done, then you haven't really accomplished very much.
All right, that's cool stuff. We'll talk more about this and some of the trends in collegiate education. Stay with us.
What this is all about is making sure that the skills that you're learning are highly relevant to jobs available today, and that you're going to leave this university with the skills you need to be highly productive members of this economy. And I want you, by the way, to stay in Rhode Island.
It's a good message from the governor at this event introducing this program with
we were happy with that.
Dr. Farish, but I will tell you, easier said than done. Do you project that the college kids of today and even the 7th and 8th graders as they go through high school and start to move on here are going to find a more mature, fertile opportunity here in Rhode Island to stay here?
Well, I sure hope so, Dan, because that's why I'm here. I mean, I think the opportunity, Rhode Island is a
why you're here discussing this, or why you're the president of Roger Williams
Why
University?
I'm here in Rhode Island.
Really?
I lived in Rhode Island for 4 years back in the early 80s. I fell in love with the place, but at that particular moment, my future took me to California and then to New Jersey, and now I'm back 30 years later. But this is where I plan to stay. My wife and I have already bought a house for our retirement. We're going to be Rhode Islanders and pay those taxes and contribute to the state. But in the meantime, I want to do what I can to help the state get back on its feet again. And that sounds a little presumptuous, but as a leader of a university, there are some things that I think that I can accomplish with my wonderful colleagues down at Roger Williams. And that's to make sure that the skill set that is possessed by the working members of our society is ready to meet the obligations, and to try and do our level best to keep those out-of-state students that we bring to this state here once they graduate.
On the job program that you're working on here, how will you track its success? How will we know whether you're making some progress?
Well, sheer numbers, first of all. We've said that we plan to have 2,100 work-ready people in the next 3 years. So we're going to actually report out on an annual basis. Are we generating 800 a year or so, 700 a year to get us to that point?
Between the adult and the traditional students?
This is just adults.
Okay.
Yeah. This is in our...
So that's a real intervention into the community.
That's
isn't it?
correct.
Yeah,
and
okay.
and there's no... I mean, we can just talk and not deliver, and of course then people will call us out and we have accomplished absolutely nothing. So we've said, hold us accountable. We're going to go ahead and put out the metrics and then hold us accountable.
Overall, what's your recommendation to the parents of today, and the students for that matter, who are seeing this really burdensome financial commitment that has to come on for a college education? What advice do you give them about the approach that they should be taking?
I actually do this on a regular basis because we have students and their parents, prospective students and their parents, coming for open houses. We had one just on Sunday. And so what I tell them is you've got to be really careful about how you treat this. It's not as simple as it once was. You have to have a place where your student is going to thrive. So they have to feel that this is a place that will be their home away from home. Don't try and shoehorn them into a place that they're not comfortable. And then from the standpoint of what you're getting for your money, be very upfront about what it is that you're expecting, and hold the campus accountable before you ever commit to go there. At Roger Williams, what we've done to help a little bit is we've held tuition flat for 5 years. Nobody else in America has done that in the private sector that we're aware of, and we hold, each class is guaranteed that their tuition will not go up while they're there.
High risk?
High risk for us?
On your pro forma?
Yeah, I mean, we have to go ahead and fill in behind the money that would otherwise would have come from tuition increases. But we think we can do that.
Doesn't mean you lower standards for admission.
No. Our Board of Trustees would never agree to that. So we have to be able to show them on an actual budget projection how we're going to go ahead and make this happen. But my point is that we have become too expensive for the average American family. When I say we, I mean all of higher education. So we're doing what we can to make it a little more affordable.
You know, Roger Williams, I think, has long been noticed, that cute little school down there by the water.
Mm-hmm.
The place is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to love the one I'm with here. I mean, this is a reputation that the school has worked hard to develop over time, and you now being a custodian of it, have a big responsibility, because the higher the bar, the higher the expectation, right?
Exactly right. We do this to ourselves. It's sort of bootstrapping ourselves to a higher level. We make a commitment, and then we have to deliver on it, because people now are expecting more from us.
No longer, hey, I'm going to Roger Williams. It's, I'm going to Roger Williams. And there's a lot of out-of-state. And what's the ratio now in terms
85% out of state.
Coming in?
85%.
Because of the view and the bridge?
Well, it doesn't hurt, but we have to be able to have more than that, Dan, otherwise they only stay a week.
So where are we going in terms of college education in the future, not only at Roger Williams, but institutionally as a role player in our society? We're going to have more and more people saying it's worth it to go to school, or try to work around it because of the expense?
Well, I think we're in danger of losing a great deal of support from the American public. I think we already have, because we have not been responsive as an industry to the changing demographics and metrics of our country. We actually lowered our tuition at the law school by more than $7,000, and promptly had a huge bump in the enrollment, because people were saying, you guys are just charging too much money. So 200 law schools nationwide, there are 5 that lowered their price. And yet everybody's facing the same reality. A law degree is not worth what it once was. So why would you continue to charge the same amount?
It's an interesting gig you got, huh?
Yeah. It's never boring.
You like being with kids?
I do.
Anytime I step onto a university campus, and I do because of the sports stuff at URI,
Sure.
I get energized.
Oh, yeah.
Being in a place where kids are makes a little skip in your step happen, doesn't it?
It does, and they come in as idealists. They come in wanting to change the world.
They come in a little clueless.
Well, they do, but why confront them with all that awful reality on day one?
See, the president says idealistic, and the host says clueless, and somewhere between those two terms is probably the reality.
Yeah, but they are. I mean, we need to give them a chance to show what they can do, and not tell them from the very beginning, you can't do that. We tried that, it didn't work.
Sure. Well, listen, good luck with this program. Hopefully a couple of thousand people are lifted up in the city of Providence. That's a big economic boost for the city.
It is, and that's our commitment. We're going to do it.
Honored to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Don't be a stranger.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, when we come back from Final Word, stay with us. Speaking of education, tomorrow night we'll have a Woonsocket teacher who's up for and competing for a $100,000 grant for a special program that, is another bullish on education story. So, good news. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow at noon on WPRO, the latest on Russia, 38 Studios, all of that, and back here tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.